Look how big it is.
Hello everyone, my name is Rebecca, and in this video I'll be making my largest art piece ever, while also setting up a new online shop. As many of you know, I had a baby earlier this year, and something about babies is that they are very expensive, especially when your baby needs more doctor's appointments than the average baby. Because of these extra bills, I've been trying to find ways to make extra income. To make money, many artists will open their own shops that sell prints or items with their art on it. I always admire artists that run their own shops, from designing the products to shipping them. They're doing everything themselves. However, I do not have time for that. I barely have time to shower some days. So for me, having a print-on-demand or pod store is a better option. Print-on-demand is a business model where products are created only after a customer places an order. Instead of holding inventory, each item is produced on demand. This reduces waste and upfront costs. So a customer places an order on my site, and then the pod service handles the rest, making things easy for me and my busy schedule. I currently have a pod store, however I've been wanting to try other options. And the sponsors of this video, Gelato, just so happens to be the world's largest print-on-demand network with over 140 production hubs in 32 countries. Before making some new art pieces, I wanted to get a feel for making products with Gelato with art that I made in the past. I did have a hard time choosing which products to put my art onto because Gelato offers so many products and especially has such a wide range of wall art options like canvases, framed prints, acrylic prints, wood prints. The list goes on. But for now, let's make a poster. As you can see, Gelato offers a bunch of poster and print options. They even offer fancy giclée printed fine art prints for a more high quality finish. And for sustainability, all posters are printed on FSC certified paper. Putting my art on a poster was super easy. I just uploaded the file and picked which sizes I wanted to be available on. I really like the wide range of size options. Gelato makes setting up a product super easy. They provide you with mock-up photos to show your design in real-life settings. And when deciding on pricing for the posters, I was surprised by how low the base prices were. This is great because that means I can offer better prices to all of you while also still making some money on the posters. For example, when I sell an 11 by 14 poster on my current pod store for $13.99, I only make $4.24. However, when I sell an 11 by 14 poster of Gelato, I make $7.88. That's a 62.5% increase in profit, so that's pretty awesome. Also, I will be integrating Gelato with my pre-existing Squarespace website. I was worried that setting up Gelato to work with Squarespace would be super tricky, but it was not. It was so fast that I accidentally didn't record the process. It was literally like 1 or 2 clicks. So yeah, I made 2 poster designs, one on semi-gloss and one on matte. I want to see which one I like more. And this is what they look like on my Squarespace website. I ordered some sample copies of both of these, and we will take a look at them later in the video. But for now, I thought it'd be fun to have my art printed on a large canvas. This is something I've never done, and I thought it'd be super cool to do. I've actually been wanting to get an autumn-themed picture to hang in our dining room to help things feel more fall and cozy. Right now, I just have the picture that I painted a character into from this video hanging there. And since I've been wanting to get a fall art piece, I decided to make this be an autumn landscape that will have a girl standing on a rock in the middle of a lake. Right now, I'm just doing my color mock-up. One of my favorite trees in autumn are birch trees. I love when their leaves turn the bright yellow color. So this picture is going to mostly feature them, along with some pine trees for interest and contrast. I'm also including mountains since they are a nice way to fill the upper half of the piece. And plus, I always think they're so cool and will make the piece feel more majestic. Once my basic idea was in place, I tightened things up and started color blocking. Honestly, color blocking was one of the parts that took the longest since there were a lot of different layers and objects in this piece. Thankfully, I found a brush that was super helpful for making the trees. It changes in hue depending on the amount of pressure you apply to the brush, and this made blocking in the trees super easy. My hope for this illustration was to have it feel like a painting since it'll be printed onto a canvas. So for my brushes, I'm going to try to be more painterly and include texture. However, for the character, I still went ahead and outlined her like I usually do because I felt like that would make the process easier for me. I'll simply go over the character later to make her more painty and fit in with everything else. I wasn't totally sure what color to have the character be wearing. At first I was thinking white, and that's what I did for my color mock-up. However, I ended up going with red since I thought that would help the viewer's eye be drawn to the character. And plus, red is kind of an autumny color. After getting everything blocked in, I started the long process of rendering the different parts of the picture. I wasn't sure where to start and I was a bit overwhelmed. But whenever I feel like that, I just start at the bottom of my layer list and work my way up. I just take things one step at a time. I do have to say, rendering the mountains was not easy. The whole time I was thinking, how does Bob Ross make this look so effortless? However, I eventually found a brush that was the right texture I wanted for applying the snow, and that helped a lot. I also had a few references open for me to look at. Also, I don't know if I've ever talked about this in a video, but I always really hate rendering and drawing large areas of grass, and I often try to avoid them. I always find it hard to find a balance of having enough detail and too much detail. In this case, I tried to add the texture but not go overboard with it. I kind of just include the grass texture along the edges and leave the rest more ambiguous. But to add some texture, I try to make my brush strokes flow with the form of the hills. That both helps define their shape, but also make them feel not super empty. When rendering the girl, I actually merged all of my layers and then painted on top of her for all of the shading. And when I get towards the end of the shading, I go around the edges with a textured brush to give her more texture and less defined edges. This piece definitely pushed me out of my comfort zone, and I felt really nervous while working on it. The first reason being that landscapes are out of my comfort zone. The second reason is that I plan to hang this in our dining room, so if I end up hating it, I'll have to look at it all the time. I used to feel like it was a bit vain to display your own art in your house, but when you're an artist and you have people over and they know you do art for a living, if there is an artsy looking piece hanging on the wall, a lot of times people will ask if you made it. And it feels less awkward to be like, yeah, I did, instead of no, I didn't. Plus, it's an easy way to show people my art if they want to see it. Just go look at the wall. But yeah, I was especially nervous when I first started the shading process after blocking everything in. I always find the color block stage to be the ugliest of the stages, and it's where I get the most nervous. I start to think things like, how in the world am I going to make this look good? But as I started to get more and more into the rendering, I became less and less nervous. And I know I'm talking about how nervous I was, but I did enjoy working on this picture. I feel like it's the first picture I have really pushed myself with since having mini manga, and I am really happy with how it turned out. Now that the picture for the canvas is done, I can upload it to Gelato, and I did have a decision to make. You see, in the design studio, you can choose to have Gelato mirror the side and back edges of the canvas, or you can have the picture wrap all the way around. After a bit of contemplating, I decided to have the art wrap all the way around, since I felt like the main portion of the piece was still well placed on the canvas. Once again, I ordered a sample for this, and we'll take a look at it in a bit, but for now, I wanted to design a few more products. Gelato's specialty is wall art, but I wanted to test out the quality of some of their other products. The first being a t-shirt. For the t-shirt, I'm going to make a simple and kind of silly design that is honestly just kind of for myself. Recently, I often find myself feeling very overstimulated, and so I wanted a shirt that says probably overstimulated on it. I also wanted to add a little character. At first I thought maybe a chibi human, but that can be kind of hard for everyone to relate to. Then I thought maybe an animal like a dog or a cat, but then I thought of a bear, and for some reason that felt like a really good fit. I have the bear looking kind of stressed out, and it's giving a thumbs up like, yeah, I'm okay, but I'm also kind of not okay. I'm just doing my best right now. At first I was just gonna have the shirt say overstimulated on it, but like, I'm not always overstimulated, so that's where the probably comes in. It actually took me a very long time to realize that I dealt with becoming overstimulated. For example, when we would celebrate Christmas all throughout my childhood and into my adulthood, I would always feel very tired and sad after celebrating. And I always felt horrible for feeling that way, and it confused me because I loved Christmas and I got great gifts and I had a great time. So why did I always feel so sad? I didn't understand why I would always feel that way. And yeah, I eventually figured out in my early 20s that I was just overstimulated and needed to have some quiet time. I did struggle with the layout for this design. I tried a bunch of different layouts and eventually decided on this one. As a girl, I never like when designs display weirdly on my chest, so I was trying to keep that in mind when making the piece and placing it on the shirt. Oh, and also I made a version that can go on light colored t-shirts, but I personally prefer the one that goes on dark designs. For my sample, I ordered the maroon colored shirt, and we will take a look at that in a bit. But for the last item, I wanted to make a design for a latte mug. A lot of times for print on demand, you only see really basic mug shapes, but I really liked this shape and I thought it'd be super cute to put my characters that work at a cafe on it. If you don't know, I have 4 characters: Esther, her husband Clarence, Samson, Esther's brother, and Finley, Clarence's brother. The cafe they work at is called Clear Star because Clarence means clear and Esther means star. I thought it'd be cute if the mug had a logo for Clear Star on it, but that means I had to make a logo and I do not have much experience with that. As you can see, I am playing around with fonts, and after a ton of trial and error, I ended up with this version and brought it into Clip Studio Paint so that I could customize it a bit. Basically, all I did was make the A in clear flow into the word star. I thought about having the R flow into star, but the logo felt like it was too long when I tried that. Oh, and I added this little star for some flair. Once I had the logo, I played around with its placement in the Gelato Design Studio. I really like how you can preview the design on mock-up photos, and there's also the 3D preview, and that was super helpful. I always hate placing designs on mugs, but the 3D preview made it much more easy. Like I said, I wanted to include my characters in the design, so I'm going to draw chibi versions of all of them. I wanted their poses to all kind of flow into one another while also showing their different personalities. I love how all the chibis turned out, but I think Samson is my favorite. I really like how his little waving pose turned out. Plus, I'm always a little biased towards Samson. I didn't think he'd be my favorite, but he's kind of ended up being my favorite of the Clear Star Cafe crew. Also, if you don't know, you can learn more about these characters by playing my visual novel game. I made it as a Valentine's Day project a few years ago. You can play the game on my website, and it's also available on itch. Clarence doesn't make an appearance in the game, but if you want to learn more about him, you can watch this video, since I draw him and Esther a ton in that video. And here's also the video where I created Esther and Clarence. I'll try to link all of these in the description. Something that's also really nice about Gelato is that they have a mobile app. In the past, I didn't care too much if a service had a mobile app, but since I do have a baby, I can't always get to my computer. And so I love being able to do things on my phone. It's really convenient. So after I finished all the sketching for the characters, I did the line work and filled them in with simple colors. At first I was thinking about fully coloring them, but I thought the design might work better for the mug and feel a bit more cohesive if I stuck with a simple pastel color scheme. I mostly just colored their outfits, eyes, and line work for a softer feel. But I did add some yellow to small details for a fun pop of color. Once the art was done, I brought the characters to my template file and played around with their placement. I was trying to fit all the characters on the front, but it felt better to have Esther and Clarence on the front and then Samson and Finley on the back. Plus, I think it's really cute having different designs on the front and back of the mug. Next, I uploaded the file to the Gelato Design Studio and placed individual stars to fill out the design a bit. I made the stars have the same colors as the outfits. While placing the stars, I was trying to keep things feeling balanced, and I have to say, I am really happy with the result. It was really handy being able to place these stars inside the Gelato Studio. It made it so that I could easily preview things on the mug while designing, and I really liked that. Oh, and I almost forgot, I also decided to make a version of the design on a regular mug as well. I just thought the characters would look so cute going around the mug. So here are all the products in my shop. Like I said, connecting Gelato to Squarespace was super easy. However, there was one part that gave me trouble, and that is trying to make the shipping I charge in my shop match the shipping that Gelato charges. Sadly, you're not able to sync the shipping prices between Gelato and Squarespace. And Gelato does offer flat rates for shipping on all their products. However, the flat rate can vary sometimes based on my experience. My solution to this was to make different shipping profiles for all the items. So if a person buys posters, they'll be charged for the poster shipping rate. And if they buy a t-shirt, they'll be charged for the t-shirt shipping. To make up for any potential variances between my shipping and Gelato's, I do charge a slight markup on my end to hopefully cover any variances so I don't lose money. Hopefully in the future, Gelato and Squarespace make a way to sync up shipping prices because that would make things so much easier. It would be wonderful. Anyways, now it's time to finally look at all the samples, so here we go. First, let's start with the t-shirt. It arrived in a simple bag mailer. When taking out the shirt, I liked the feel of it. It has a softer cotton feel and is fairly stretchy. For the print quality, I'm really happy with how bright the white is and how it pops on the dark color. I feel like it also captured the small details really well and it's really crisp. The shirt does have a bit of a vinegar-like smell to it, but that is super common for print-on-demand shirts. It will go away after the first wash. If I feel confident enough, I'll include some footage of me wearing the shirt. It does run very true to the size of the measurements provided. I bought a large in case it was too small, but honestly, I could have went with a medium. Overall, the shirt gets 2 thumbs up from me. I'm very happy with how it turned out. Next, we would be taking a look at the latte mug. Sadly, it got stuck in production for some reason, and as I'm recording this audio, it has still not arrived. I have contacted Gelato about the delay. They gave me a refund for the shipping costs and are looking into getting the item to me. But next, let's check out the prints. I ordered 2 8x10 prints, one on semi-gloss paper and the other is on matte paper. First, here is the semi-gloss one. It feels really nice and does have a bit of a sheen to it. The colors are super vibrant and the darks are nice and dark. They don't feel washed out at all. One small critique I have is that in some areas there is a slight texture that doesn't exist in my art. When I reached out to Gelato about this, they were super helpful and gave a few reasons as to why this could be happening. In my opinion, it's probably just the natural grain of the paper finish showing through, so I can't really fault it for this. It's just a natural consequence of having the really dark color on the paper. Now for the matte poster, it also looks really good. The darks get super dark and the colors look so vibrant. This poster doesn't have any of the texture in the dark areas like the first one. And honestly, I'm in love with the matte finish. I love that it doesn't reflect the light at all and it feels really nice. I think I'm going to change the first poster to be on the matte paper. The semi-gloss was also very nice. I'm just a bit biased towards matte finishes. And last but not least, the one I'm most excited for, the canvas. So let's take a look at it.
Look how big it is. Oh, it's so cool.
I am so happy with how it turned out. It looks so good. I've never seen my art at such a large scale before. I'm super happy with the quality and I love the texture of the canvas. I feel like it really brings the piece together. So what are my thoughts on Gelato? I am still new to it, but my first impression is that I really like it and I hope to make it my main pod store. I did have issues with my mug being delayed. However, the customer support was very fast when it came to looking into the problem and giving me a partial refund. And they were also super good about answering my questions about the poster. With Gelato, I like that the profit margins are better than my current shop, and that the shipping is faster and has lower costs as well as a smaller carbon footprint. Plus, I'm super happy with how everything turned out. If you're interested in setting up your own store of Gelato, you can try Gelato for free and get 50% off your first purchase if made within 3 days of creating your account. There's a link in the description and pinned comment down below. I also have a link to my site if you want to check out my store. Any support is super appreciated. Well, that is all for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye!